Hey friends, welcome back or welcome aboard. You're watching Prepare to Go There, and my name is Peter Burchfield. I'm a leadership preparedness coach, and I'm passionate about preparing leaders for the next phase of what they do. You know, transitions can be really tricky, and we get stuck in life. We definitely can stall out in leadership, but if we are willing to go on that leadership journey, to keep going, keep growing, we really can go the distance and make a difference. So with that, I am going to dive right into a brand new training. I'm so excited about it. Just so you kind of know what you're getting into, I'm going to be talking for about 15 minutes. I'm going to be giving a trailhead training, which means you're going to get the big idea and then an invitation to continue it in an email trail. And you'll get an option to get 4 videos emailed to you. And in those 4 installments, we're going to go even deeper in this conversation so that way you can personalize it and then you can leverage all of the insights and strategies for your own leadership landscape. And that's what this training is all about. So let's dive in right now. We are going to be talking about leadership landscapes. You're saying, Peter, what are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about the context that you lead in, the context that you work in. And it starts with a simple question. You know, where are you going to be leading this year? And maybe you already know, maybe you're already doing it, right? But then can you hold that picture long enough, strong enough, and say, where are you going to be leading next year? And then, you know, what is your leadership journey going to be looking like in 5 years or 15 years? You know, what is the landscape of your leadership impact going to look like in the next 50 years? And I'm not trying to predict the future, but I do want to prepare you because the decisions you're making right now are absolutely going to have a relational ripple effect far and wide. And so we're going to be identifying your leadership landscape so that way you can be really prepared to pioneer there. And here's the thing. There's a myth out there that says, you know, all leaders who want to pioneer are the same. And that could be no further from the truth. It's wrong. Great leaders can accomplish historic progress in a variety of landscapes. But here's the other side of it. No leader can pioneer in an environment that they are unprepared for. So that's why this conversation matters, because we all want to, you know, go the distance, make a difference. But you've got to know where you're going so that way you can prepare to go there. And pioneering leadership is so valuable. You know, I'm so grateful for anyone and everyone in the leadership space. We've been learning a lot about self-leadership and organizational leadership and servant leadership and visionary leadership. And we've got all of these, you know, sides of this multifaceted conversation. But I think we really need to emphasize pioneering leaders because they have the ability to navigate and create the future of what they do. And that's where we're all living right now. Nobody really knows where this is going next, but pioneering leaders are not going to get stuck. They're not going to stall out. They're going to pioneer. They're going to live and lead differently, and it's going to be a saving grace for everybody else in their organizations because they've got great leaders on the team. So that's why I really want to challenge you. Pick a context, pick an industry, and imagine what you've got to get ready for. What are the conditions? What are the challenges? What are the uncharted choices that are coming up so that way you don't miss a window of opportunity, but you can actually influence and lead well. And what you're going to find is no matter what industry or context you're thinking about, it's my thesis that there are pioneering leaders ready to innovate there already. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. the way leaders influence and initiate these cultural shifts that are going to be needed in all of these contexts is going to be depending on the way leaders have prepared themselves to traverse in these environments. So what am I talking about? For example, look at these two pictures. Trekking through a warmer jungle climate is going to be very different than climbing near some snow-capped mountains. I mean, just basic clothing, gear, communication, scenarios. And so that's just one example of why it's important to better understand your environment. And what's happening is we've got a lot of leaders that kind of grew up in this really fun, visionary leadership culture where they can just dream up whatever they want and then just kind of go after it. But pioneering leaders are thinking about what's already out there and what's coming towards them out of the woods. And they're saying, how can we get ready? Not out of fear, but with hope and with confidence that they can step up and they can step in to whatever happens next. So I want to introduce these leadership landscapes. I'm taking all of these different choices and areas that you can be leading in. I'm going to boil them down into three big categories: institutions, enterprises, and movements. All right. And we're going to kind of take each one, and then we're going to help you distill some differences and reasons for each of them. So again, these are the three primary environments in the future frontier that leaders are going to be pioneering next: the institutions, the enterprises, and movements. Now, depending on the kind of work you do, you may be operating in just one of these leadership landscapes or up to all three. We're going to introduce them, and then I'll help you tell them apart. And again, remember, at the end, you're going to get an invitation, a very simple way to access extended content. I call it an email trail. So first one up is the institution. Institutions were founded sometime in the past by other pioneering leaders. These are the establishments that are designed to endure. They are built for very harsh conditions, and they have proven it over time. Some of the main features here include big infrastructure, established funding, and reinforced cultural norms. Enterprises, just as fun, little different. These guys are built and they are scaled in the present. Okay, it's all about what's happening in the moment, in the now. These are organizations on the go, and their purpose is to expand into new fields and markets. Some of the features surrounding these enterprises in the marketplace are, compelling mission, big communication, the systems, innovation, growth to make it happen. All right, movements. These are happening on the grassroots. They're out there on the fringe, right? These are the most disruptive forces because they're actually breaking in from the future. The anthem of many of these movements is hope and some sort of change for a better future. And the features are going to include high vision with high frustration mixed with shared values and a lot of mobilization. So there you go. Those are the leadership landscapes. Now, you may say, well, I still don't know where I'm going to be leading. Maybe you're currently holding space in one. You're like, yeah, I'm pretty much in that category. But if you understand the value of pioneering leaders, you could be showing up in one of these terrains very soon in a future near you. And so that's why I want to get you prepared to go there. All right. Leadership preparedness. Let's talk about some of the differences between these environments. It goes without saying, each of them are a little different. And it's very easy for leaders to assume that all pioneers, or those who have that pioneering spirit, that pioneering approach to challenge the norm, do things differently, make things better, that kind of stuff, we can assume that all pioneering leaders are just going to take the same route, which is flee the institutions, flock towards the enterprises, and then flow in and out of movements when possible. However, I'm here to say that pioneering leaders are needed in all three of these environments. And surprisingly, you're going to find that there are already pioneering leaders in all three of these environments. And that's why you need to understand some of the differences and some of the challenges that are associated with them. Institutions are going to be the most battle-tested of them all. They've already been proven. You pretty much know where they stand, and their structures are, built to endure, like I said before. However, one thing that's, different about institutions is that they are actually more vulnerable to rot from within than to be overtaken by, outside forces. They were built to endure and weather harsh conditions, and now somehow people are managing to live in these systems. They are going to be motivated by the past. Okay, so they're all about honoring the past, remembering the past, fighting for something in the past, and maybe forgetting that things have changed. Okay, that's all I'm going to say there. Let's go on to some of the distinctives or differences with enterprises. Enterprises are not in some sort of battlefield of the past. They are actually the front lines right now. This is where the war for progress is on in real time. And the winners know it because they want to heap on the rewards. These environments feel really welcoming and exciting at first, but they can be very dangerous and mistakenly demanding as well. The myth here is that things are always going to be the way they've always been. So if you're going up, it's just going to keep going up. But there are high highs and low lows in this landscape. And one of the tragedies is that this is a very dense environment. There's a lot of competition here. It takes a lot of effort to create a lasting mark or to, make lasting space in this environment. And many leaders will lead and bleed their whole lives and still go forgotten. All right, let's go to, so encouraging, I know. Let's go to movements. What are some of the differences or distinctives with this context? Movements are generally going to be hidden on the fringes. Great, obscurity. That's a great one for your resume. These are going to be the most difficult landscapes to navigate because, number one, they're hard to see when they're happening. Number two, they're just hard to find. You're trying to find a movement. Where's the movement? Oh, there it went. Most leaders don't even know what a movement looks like, let alone how to lead one. Let's just be honest. So it puts a lot of pressure on the leaders in this landscape to start one, steer one, maybe stop one if needed. I don't know. But ironically, there's many people actually in the excitement and the momentum of a movement here. They may not even realize it until they read about it years later in the headlines. So, just some nuances to be thinking through as you consider what kind of context, what kind of environment you're gearing up for next. Again, I want to give you reasons for each of these because what I'm not aiming at in this training is to say, this is the best landscape. If you want to pioneer, if you want to make a change, if you want to go for it, go to this one. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are actually thriving leaders in all three contexts, but you're going to have to know how to prepare to operate in those landscapes. So believe it or not, pioneering leaders are needed in all three, and they are succeeding in all three. They may not be, the ones that are most visible, but they are needed. But they are winning for different reasons. In fact, their tactics look different depending on the leadership landscape that they're taking on. So let's start with institutions. Again, pioneering leaders who want to go the distance, make a difference in like an institutional context. And I'm not just saying it is a government role. I'm saying the culture, the organizational culture is more established, more traditional. So it can kind of go both ways there. Literal or figurative, so to speak. But leaders who want to pioneer and they want to, live well, lead well in this context, they're going to do so by working as servant leaders on the inside that are working to renew and reform what's going on in that organizational culture from the inside as voices of hopeful conviction. So remember, one of the big things about institutions is that they look like fortresses on the outside, but they are actually more, if I could say, soft, I guess, on the inside. And there's a lot more I could say, but I won't say here and now. You'll just have to jump on the email trail, I guess. So there's a real opportunity to make a difference and to be a pioneering leader in these environments. So think about it, and prepare to go there. Let me see if I have anything else to say on my notes. Institutions have been built up over time to defend pressures on the outside. So leaders who want to bring change often come to transform things as servant leaders who seek the welfare of the organization or the institution from within. Awesome. Very good. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is enterprises. Reasons for going into this landscape. Pioneering leaders also can thrive in a fast-paced enterprise. So maybe you say, man, I feel like I'm a pioneering leader, but I don't really like the pace of progress that's in that other leadership landscape. Is there something for me? Is there a place for me? And the answer is yes. Go to the fast-paced enterprise leadership landscape because you'll actually do great there. In fact, a lot of pioneering leaders thrive in that environment because it requires risk takers who are highly relational. And this can be leveraged by pioneering leaders who have great decision making and a natural skill set for adapting and collaborating well. And maybe you kind of grew up in a high performing sports team, or you were a part of the military at one time, and you know what it's like to be on a high performing team. That is something that a lot of pioneering leaders do well, and they do well in this context for that very reason. So another kind of reason for pioneering in the marketplace is that the landscape is always changing here, and pioneering leaders are not intimidated by that. In fact, some of y'all crazy pioneering leaders actually like that. You're down for that, and so that's a reason to go into that field. Pioneering leaders here are going to be really great at preparing others on the team to handle the new challenges mentally, to adapt, and to succeed under pressure. This is going to be different than institutions because unlike institutions, one does not have to take a long time to come up through the ranks as a requirement to have a a really significant contribution. The way leaders are going to rise to the occasion here in this leadership landscape is by being able to see the opportunities at hand in a really timely manner, and then being able to work resourcefully to seize those opportunities through the power of the collective, through teamwork and collaboration and really strong relational network. All right, let's move into the last one, reasons for movement. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. What leadership landscape have you been, serving in or working in already? And then maybe you're actually gearing up for some shifts. Again, it can go two ways. One, it could be like a very literal, man, I was working for a government job, a startup, or a church, something like that. Or it could mean that in more of a metaphor, the organization you're a part of has gone through those seasons, right? And the landscape of where you're at kind of looks like one of these three categories, which we're going to get to as our kind of grand finale. So let me jump back to reasons for pioneering leaders. Pioneering leaders are great in the movement landscape. I mean, I think this is probably the most obvious one in my mind, because pioneers are at the front lines of movements so many times. But many pioneering leaders have big hearts. They have big vision, and they are a part of sparking sweeping movements of people to take really passionate life change. And that's exciting. It can also be scary if we're talking about a dictator, but it can actually be really inspiring if we're talking about some really noble humans, that are gonna go make a difference for the better. So pioneering leaders here, they're going to stand out in this climate for being courageous, for being true to their values, for speaking up for those transcendent truths that are essential for foundation and for the future, so we can actually build healthy, productive lives where we work together and we don't try to kill each other, just basic stuff like that. And it's really their willingness to speak out in this context that gives them a measure of authenticity and authority to rally people, which creates that movement effect. And it's that kind of empowerment that I think is a signature strength for pioneering leaders. So I hope I've shown you what they are, three big categories. I hope I've showed you that they're each a little different. And then I hope I've showed you that pioneering leaders can actually thrive and enjoy doing rewarding, hard work in each of those contexts. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out, and we're going to see, like I alluded to earlier, that I'm not just saying what job are you going to take next, but I'm saying what is going to be the context of your organizational culture going into the future. And so we can actually see this in another way, kind of like a cycle. These leadership landscapes on your own leadership journey or on your team's leadership journey, it's gonna change. And so we've got to be ready for those changes as well. We're seeing here a larger cycle of organizational phases, the kind of the lifespan of an organization. And it can, I'm not saying it's always going to go in this order, but it will actually kind of shift around. For example, let's say, this team started out as a movement, and then as it grew, it kind of shifted into more of an enterprise style. And then, give it a few years, and now it's kind of aging, and it's becoming more of an institution. And then it kind of needs to get rebooted and refreshed, refired up. And so, boom, here comes a new emphasis for movement thinking, movement, leadership, language, culture, all that stuff. And what's really cool is that It's the pioneering leaders that have a unique ability to pivot their organizations. They actually know how to lead organizations into new phases, the next phase of what's needed to be healthy. There's actually, believe it or not, there are healthy forms of institution. There are healthy forms of movement. There are healthy forms of enterprise. Believe it or not, there are unhealthy forms of all of those as well. And so pioneering leaders know how to navigate and create the future of what they do by leaning into those different dynamics. They say, hey, we need to be going in this direction, or hey, I see things going in this direction, and so we need to be adapting and pivoting as needed. So hopefully you are picking up what I am putting down. Let me give you an example. Movements are really exciting, but not many movements last. Many movements will, after a time, need to seek leadership and funding, and then they lean into stuff like branding. And there you go. They're already shifting into more of the enterprise chapter. And then movements can go the other direction. They can actually lean more towards institutions. We've seen that over the years. And then institutions can actually branch out into new movements. And so they really go in all different directions. And that's why we need great, dependable leaders at the helm that are going to keep carrying the load of responsibility into the next phase. And that's what I hope you're seeing and feeling here is I'm really passionate about helping pioneering leaders because I believe these kinds of leaders are unique and they're needed. They have the values, they have the mindset, they have the skill sets that many organizations are going to need to go into the future with reassurance and even confidence. And so don't take your pioneers for granted, okay? You need to identify them, and you need to include them, or you need to just invest in them. And even if, I'll just stop there and just say, I'm sure you got amazing people on your team. And so let's think with empathy and with a sense of empowerment, how we're actually going to go into the future stronger. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up, hopefully many of you are pioneering leaders and you're just nodding your head and saying, yeah, someone sees me. That's great. That's awesome. But really, it's for anyone on the team. Maybe you don't lean this way. Maybe you don't even like this conversation. You're just kind of, somewhere else. What I have found in my coaching work is that pioneering leaders can be misunderstood. They can seem contrarian to the others on the team. They can even seem disagreeable to others on the team. And then what happens is just when you try to peg a pioneering leader into one leadership style, or you say, man, they prefer this leadership landscape, that's where they're going to live for the rest of their life. It's the pioneering leader that has the ability to zig and zag, and they're the ones who can actually shift into another mode. And that's what I'm talking about here, that pioneering leaders can shift personally from one field to another. And they can also, if they have been developed and if they've been deployed and they have the right support system, it's my thesis that pioneering leaders can actually work with others to shift entire teams and entire organizations into the right next phase for that organization's health and future. All right, so this is really the end of our training, and you're like, wow, could we keep going? Is there more to talk about? And the answer is yes, there's absolutely more to talk about to equip you as a pioneering leader. And this is just one conversation, but it's a fun one, and I want to get it out there. And so here's what I want you to do. If you want to keep going in this direction, you want to keep learning, you'll get 4 more videos that take you into this world of thinking about the context of your leadership journey. And then you can even zoom out and think about the context of your organizational culture and where you need to be leading the team and or community or whatever you're leading next. And so let's keep going, right? Somewhere below, there's going to be a link. You click opt in, just give me your email and let's keep going on this journey. You're going to get 4 videos in 4 emails. The first one is I'm going to talk about my concerns for each of these landscapes, because so many times we jump in and we're excited and we're like, oh man, I'm going to just crush it. I'm going to win. I'm going to succeed. But actually there's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of dangerous stuff that you need to be aware of and prevent and prepare for. So that's the first one, really helping you count the cost. Then the next one is I'm going to get you skills. I'm going to identify the top skills that I have observed from working with pioneering leaders in all 3 of these leadership landscapes, and I'm going to identify some skills that you can be developing either to thrive already there or prepare to go there. And then the third one is, what number am I on? 3. 3 is I'm going to share with you some insights and strategies to actually pioneer multiple leadership landscapes at the same time. Believe it or not, there are many of you, and you have that ability, and multitasking just feels funner for you. You just like driving fast all day, every day. And so you're just zooming and you're doing so many things at once. It is possible. It's not for everybody, but we're going to be exploring that. And then at the very end, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can get access to an amazing course called Pioneer of the Year. And so please check it all out. I'm going to tell you right up front, I want to keep working with you. I want to keep helping you and encouraging you. If we can do it through the podcast, let's do it. If we can do it with some of the live trainings online, let's do that. But I'm here to pioneer with you, and I'm excited about your own leadership preparedness. We need leaders to be more prepared, not scared about where they're going next, and that's why we need each other. So remember, you're going places, so prepare to go there.